Good morning, Baltimore. Hey there, I'm Leah Gilmore, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. Hey, sweetheart. We march together in solidarity. We march together in peace. We march together for justice, for equality, against racism, against fascism, wherever it may be, even in our back door. We are unified. We are unified. Do not let them believe that we are different. We are together in unity, women, men, strong. All genders, all ways of being, we are together. So I'm going to sing and you're going to sing with me. All right? Okay. I woke up this morning with my mind, it was stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now you heard the song. Now you have to sing it with me. Your part is stayed on freedom. Let me hear it. Sing it, girl. Yeah, that's it. All right, here we go. I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Lord, I'm singing and talking with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. I'm singing and talking with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. I'm singing and talking with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, I'm marching with my sisters with my mind, it was stayed on freedom. I'm marching for sisters with my mind and it is stayed on freedom. I'm marching with sisters with my mind and it is stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. One more time now. I know you can sing it. Here we go. Oh, I'm walking and talking with my mind and it is. That's it. Oh, I'm walking and talking with my mind and it is stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind and it is stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right. Bless you.
How's everybody doing out there? Oh, you can do better than that. How's everybody doing out there? Look, Mother Nature knew that this march was happening today and decided to hold off on any rain, sleet, snow, fog, or earthquakes because she knows that when women are right, the world is all right. Welcome to the 2019 Baltimore Women's March. My name is Charlie Carter. I'm going to be your MC today, and we have a number of really powerful speakers. Before we get started, I want to do some housekeeping and let you know that we have restrooms in the War Memorial Building behind you. That building is open. We have along the side posters and buttons for sale. And if you see anyone with a hat like mine, bright yellow hat, they are a marshal and volunteer. If there's a lost child or you need assistance, then please find someone in a bright yellow hat. Great. I also want to thank our singer, Leah Gilmore. Woo! She's awesome. And this is our third annual march, a celebration of women's success and continuation of the movement to harness the power of all women of all backgrounds and to create a transformative social change. Right. We gathered here last year 12,000 strong. But given the weather, given the other marches that are happening today, I want to thank all of you for coming out today and showing your support. When we got together last year, people were determined that we were going to make change in our country. And as you'll hear throughout the speeches today, we've made tremendous change, including electing more women to the state legislature than ever before, electing more women across the country than ever before. We see women rising to powerful positions all across the country. It's only a matter of time before we get that #1 slot. So now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Reverend Cecilia Bryant to join us and give us a blessing for this march and our work together.
A woman, 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 a woman. And so we gather, honoring the sacred text. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. We pray this day as the women of Maryland gather to answer the question that women have answered in every generation. What time is it? It's woman time. What time is it? From Mary Eliza Risto to Nancy Pelosi and Consuelo Carrera, from Harriet Tubman to Nikedra Robinson, from Mother Elizabeth Seton to Bishop Vashti McKenzie, from Empress Wu Zedong to Lily G and Marisa Martinez, from Juanita Jackson Mitchell to Marilyn Mosby. What time is it? On this auspicious occasion, January the 19th, 2019, as we peruse the nations from the tormented soul of America, Lord, help us to incarnate the one answer to the question, what time is it? Time for a woman to disrupt intergenerational classism and resist any attempt to compromise on less than a $15 minimum wage. Lord, give us the integrity. What time is it? Time for woman to expose and eradicate the apartheid healthcare and educational systems that are based on zip code. Lord, give us the strategy. What time is it? Time for woman to renounce every violence, from nuclear to neighborhood, from domestic to personal, in all the violence vestiges, whether psychological, economic, or recreational. How do we do it? Through common sense gun control laws. Lord, give us the motivation. What time is it? Time for woman to replace to place principles above party. Lord, give us the resilience. What time is it? Time for woman to reject isolationism and create a sisterhood that includes the women on the southern border, that includes the women of Zimbabwe and Yemen, that includes the women of Palestine, Cuba, and India, that includes the women of Somalia, Puerto Rico, and Haiti, that includes indigenous women everywhere. Lord, give us the humility. What time is it? Time for woman to talk out loud about race. If we're going to dream out loud about hope, Lord, give us the love. What time is it? Time for woman to create a sister circle that every girl child will aspire toward. One that cannot be broken by lineage or language, by religion or philosophy, by culture or career. We're praying, Lord, give us wisdom. What time is it? Time for woman to usher in a new ecological vision and conviction that actualizes clean water and air as a human right and preserves the dignity of all creation. Lord, give us the determination. Lord, what time is it, my sisters? And so we pray in this woman time as that God would make us as courageous as Nana Asantewa, as global as Eleanor Roosevelt, as steadfast as Angela Davis, as compassionate as Mother Teresa, and that God would give us clean hands, strong shoulders, and a pure heart, so that we can navigate the quagmire of our disagreements. That together, can you say together? 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 We may emerge whole, free, and obedient to the call of our woman time destiny. This is our prayer in the name of Jesus. God be with us all. Woman, a woman, a woman, a woman, a woman, a woman, a woman.
Thank you, Reverend Bryant. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Baltimore City, Catherine Pugh.
And first let's give Reverend Cecilia Bryant another round of applause. A woman, a woman, a woman. So before we get started, let me just hand this off to our organizers. Thank you so much for continuing to organize, because we must organize, because we must rise. And so I say to you all as women, let us continue to rise, let us continue to lead, let us continue to acknowledge that we are not just women, but we are leaders in this city, in this state, and in this country. It is what we do every single day. From Harriet Tubman to Nancy Pelosi, we are leading in this country. And so as we begin to take on our mantle, to begin to push our city forward, our state forward, and our country forward, we must recognize that we can, will, should work together. We are strong, we are invincible, we are women, and we can roar. We are super women. We are women of all colors, shapes, and sizes. We take care of ourselves and we take care of one another. I just wanted to share with you all that this city asked all of us to choose us, support us. Women are changing the political landscape. We are harnessing our collective voices to achieve social, political, and professional victories. It will take all of us as women getting involved in the process. When we opened up our Women's Commission, someone said to me, you can only choose 12. I said, absolutely not. Anyone who applies should be a part of it. And so we've got over 100 women who have joined the Women's Commission of Baltimore City. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Equal rights, equal pay, voter access, quality education, access to health care, supporting and working for working families, ending sexual harassment and violence against women. Women united cannot be defeated. Say it with me. Women united cannot be defeated. And we showed that. We showed it in 2018. Women candidates broke records for the number of candidates for governor, U.S. House, and U.S. Senate. And that trend will continue. The House of Representatives elected a record number of women, with more than 90 women making their way to D.C. in this March. Kristen Sinema became the first openly bisexual senator and the first female senator from Arizona. Kristi Noem became South Dakota's first female governor. Sharice Davis became the first Native American woman ever elected to Congress. Deborah Helen also became the second Native American woman elected to Congress, and Marsha Blackburn became Tennessee's first female senator. Rashida Tlaib became one of the first Muslim women in Congress and the first Palestinian American woman in Congress. Ilhan Omar became the first Somalian American in Congress and one of the first Muslim women in Congress. Alexandria Cortez, or AOC, at 29, became the youngest woman elected to Congress. Ayanna Presley became the first black congresswoman from Massachusetts, and Lou Leon Guerrero became the first female governor of Guam. Just look at all the progress we've made. So we can't go backwards. We can only go further, even higher, but we have to put it to work. I'm here because I am committed to your goals. Our interim health commissioner, Mary Beth Haller, a woman. Our labor commissioner, Deborah Moore Carter, a woman. Our chief procurement officer, Erin Sher Smythe, a woman. Our director of government relations, Karen Stokes, a woman. Senior director of public affairs, Tanya Miller, a woman. Director of the Department of Transportation, Michelle Pouchot, a woman. Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Baltimore City, Janet Abrahams, a woman. Enoch Pratt Library CEO, Heidi Daniels, a woman. Baltimore City School CEO, Dr. Sonia Sandelises, a woman. Executive Director of the Baltimore Convention Center, Peggy Diadakis, a woman. Executive Director of Live Baltimore, Annie Miller, a woman. Director of Logistics and Special Assistant to the Mayor, Jerry Bird, a woman. Executive Director of Environmental Controls, Rebecca Woods, a woman. Director of Baltimore City's Department of Social Services, Stacy Rogers, a woman. Director of the Mayor's Office of Sustainable Solutions, Kendra Parlock, a woman. Director of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant and Multicultural Affairs, Catalina Rodriguez Lima, a woman. Director of Office of Constituent Services, Daphne Williams, a woman. Chief Executive Officer of the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts, Donna Sawyer, a woman. Director of Community Engagement, Alexandria Smith, a woman. Deputy Chief Information Officer, Deidre Hollins, a woman. Deputy Health Commissioner Hang Tan, a woman. Deputy Director of Government Relations, Poetry Deal, a woman. There are women working on all of your behalves throughout city government, but there are more women who want to push our city forward, push our state forward, push our country forward. Women, let's continue to work together for justice, peace, equality for all of us. Women, let's lead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for those powerful words. And for the citation for the Baltimore Women's March. The violence in our streets is a woman's issue. We must work hard to provide communities, resources, and opportunities to end this crisis. And now, Angie Winder joins us from Restoring the Village Project. Angie lost her husband to violence years ago and has remained active in the fight to ensure that everyone has opportunities and to prevent the senseless violence we've seen in our city.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. You all look so beautiful. Good morning. My name is Angie Winder. I am the founder of Restoring the Village Project, a radio host, a newly elected leader, a mother of two, and a community advocate. I have advocated for various issues in our communities, but the one that is very dear to my heart is advocating for grieving families affected by violence, senseless violence. I never could imagine I'd be standing here speaking words of encouragement. You see, 15 years ago, I lost my soulmate, my best friend, my husband. He had been a victim to violence in Baltimore City. And though I mentioned all of the wonderful things that I've accomplished throughout the years, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about my husband and that I wish he was still with us. Every day that I fight to make a difference in our city is a fight coming from the depth of my very own pain. A pain that has pushed me into my purpose. Many say enough is enough of the violence, but we must believe that enough is truly enough by our actions. Let our actions speak louder than our words. What are we going to do today about this violence? As your sister, I am pushing each of you to dig deep to find your purpose. As for me, if it had not been for God in my village, I wouldn't be alive to tell my testimony today. I'm humbled and thankful that God never gave up on me or allowed me to give up even when I wanted to. Why I march be more. I march for my husband and every victim of violence. I've lost a host of friends and family, with a 19-year-old nephew being the latest victim in 2018. In 2018, we saw 309 reported homicides, and in the last few years, we've ended the year with 300 plus homicides. This should not be accepted as the norm. Everyone is responsible for restoring our village, from the elected officials to the constituents. We cannot afford to keep losing our loved ones. Why I march be more. I march for the voiceless and the hopeless. I march for the grieving families of the victims, that they hear my story and that they find hope and that they find peace. And in closing, my charge to every woman here today is to rise up. Let us not be divided, for unity is power. Let us not be driven away from leadership positions. We must have a voice. We must be at the table. We must step up even more and speak out for what is right and just. We must continue to build one another and support and pray for one another. I love the saying, broken crayons still color. Let us take our brokenness. Let us take our brokenness and color the brightest future for our lives and for the lives of others. This is why I march. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Angie Winder. So before I bring up our next speaker, I do want to point out a few things. On the monitors, our speeches are being translated. We have our interpreter here. I also want to ask that if you're taking pictures, to please use Baltimore Women's March 2019 as the hashtag, so that we can share widely this experience today. Next, before we bring up our next speaker, can I ask all of our women elected officials to please gather to my left, at the bottom of the stairs on my left. And now I would like to introduce to you Rabbi Sarah Marion, who's coming today to speak with us about Jewish women's experience. Rabbi Marion.
The Bible tells us that Eve was the first woman on earth. But according to Jewish tradition, this may not actually be true. Jewish folklore imagines that once upon a time, before there was Eve, there was Lilith. A strong, capable, independent woman who refused to let Adam rule over her. In my book, it was Lilith who was the first nasty woman. When Lilith refused to agree to Adam's demands, God banished her from the Garden of Eden and built a wall and created Eve in her place. My teacher, Judith Plaskow, tells us that Lilith returns to the garden after her expulsion, seeking to rejoin the community, and yet she is unable to scale the garden's high walls. Sitting in the garden one day, Eve sees a tree with branches over and beyond the garden wall. And so Eve climbs that tree. She scales the wall and swings herself over to the other side. Women have always known that walls are useless, unwise, and unjust. When Eve and Lilith meet on the other side of that wall, they sat and they spoke together of the past and of the future. They taught each other many things and they told each other stories. And they laughed together and they cried together. And God and Adam were anxious and afraid the day that Eve and Lilith returned to the garden, bursting with possibilities, ready to rebuild it together. All of us, men, women, and children, all of us are here today because we so desperately need to build another garden, free of walls, right here in our own city of Baltimore, and our world so in need of repair. All of us are here today because, like Lilith and like Eve, we know that we are stronger together. We know what racism, sexism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and hatred of Jews all aim to do. We know that these systemic forms of hate and oppression want to tear us down and divide us apart, and we know that we cannot and will not let that happen. We know that when women and men join together to tear down the walls that divide us, the possibilities are endless and the sky is the limit. I dream of a world in which Jews and Christians and Muslims all come together to dismantle the walls of racism and the walls of anti-Semitism from our midst. I dream of a world in which the piercing wail of the mother who has just lost her child to gun violence pierces into the heart and soul of every synagogue, every church, and every mosque, so that the cry of that mother becomes the cry of all mothers, unwilling to be silent and unwilling to back down until all children can walk down any and every street in Baltimore without fearing for their lives. We can do all of this and so much more right here in Baltimore. At my synagogue temple, Oheb Shalom in Pikesville, we are just beginning this work with our Muslim sisters from the Beit Samad Mosque in Rosedale. Our emerging Muslim-Jewish sisterhood aims to be a ray of light and hope, a model for others to follow. We all can be more like Lilith and Eve. We all can take down the proverbial walls brick by brick that still exist between us. We all can reach greater levels of compassion and understanding and partnership across lines of race, religion, gender, and ethnicity. And then, and only then, in the words of the incomparable Judy Chicago, and then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both men and women will be strong. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi Marion. So who runs the world? Who runs the world? Okay, now it is my pleasure to bring up our elected officials. Now, you're not going to hear from all of them. But we do want to celebrate our women leaders and our men leaders who champion them. So please come on and join us. And I'm going to introduce to you the highest ranking woman in the state legislature, Speaker Pro Tem Adrienne Jones.
Good morning, Baltimore women, and the men are here to support them. All the way in the back. Behind me, you have the elected officials who were introduced by Charlotte. They're mostly state, but we have two state legislator women. That is Delegate Shelley Heddleman and Delegate Brooke Learman. Now, you heard Charlie mention about that I was the second highest ranking member in the House. This year, for the first time, the second highest ranking person in the Senate is also a woman. My title is Speaker Pro Tem. Her title is Senator Kathy Klossmeyer is President Pro Tem. And we had the opportunity last Friday, because both of the mics were away, to preside at the first time. That was the very first time in the Maryland General Assembly history that two women presided at the simultaneously. Now, in the General Assembly, you heard mentioned earlier that we have 72 women, 57 women in the House, 15 women in the Senate. So 72, okay, that sounds like a great number. But the total number of members in both houses, 141 in the House, 47 in the Senate, is 188. That means that there are 116 men that are in the General Assembly. So we have our work to do. We're not saying we're going to just, replace all the men, but we find that women in in leadership positions and in Annapolis had that perspective. So we do have, and I'm gonna give you a couple of little more stats. In the House, there are 7 standing committees. 4 are chaired by women. In the Senate, they have, 6 standing committees. They have 3 that are chaired by women. So what I'm saying is that, oftentimes you'll come down to Annapolis, the women will come down to Annapolis, and you advocate for your particular issue. But give consideration of taking that extra step and getting involved in elected office, be it from Central Committee or to a House or State Senate. We encourage you to come and come to Annapolis, tell us about your issues, because what you say matters. And we find that most people who come down to Annapolis are women, but we also want to see more in Annapolis in addition to Shelley and Brooke. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in Annapolis, and enjoy the rest of this forum. Thank you.
Good morning, afternoon, Baltimore Women's March. I'm Sharon Green Middleton, Vice President of the Council, and I represent the 6th District, and I want to introduce my colleagues. And here to my right, we have Dean of the Council, Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, that represents the 14th District. And to my left here, 2 male supporter colleagues. We have Robert Stokes, Councilman Robert Stokes, representing the 12th District. And also Councilman Ryan Dorsey, representing the 3rd District. They are very strong supporters of women's needs. And I just want to mention quickly, and Councilwoman Clark was standing up here just kind of talking about this, but at one time, the women was a majority on the council. And when I first started on the council, there were 7 women, and now there are 3. And when we talk about building, we want to keep those bridges built and just kind of keep an equal balance for women's needs throughout this city. And we need to have, I think we still need to bridge that balance with women on the council. No disrespect to men, but we have to still keep that balance. And I think that's the message, one of the messages that we are trying to portray here. But again, we are very supportive, and thank you all for coming out, and thank you, Charlie, for being the host and directing this.
Yeah. And State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby will be back to help close out this great program.
72 and 115? Not very hard if we stick together and remain united. Woo! Next, I want to introduce to you a powerful speaker, Nicole Mundel. Nicole is Executive Director for Out for Justice and is going to talk to us about women who are returning from prison.
Hey, Baltimore! Hey, Baltimore! Thank y'all so much for having me. I didn't prepare a speech because I wanted to talk to you from a very authentic place. I am Nicole, and I represent the thousands and thousands of women across the state of Maryland who have made some mistakes in our lives, but have made a strategic decision, a conscious decision to turn our lives around and be successful citizens here in Baltimore and Maryland. Thank you. You are standing next to someone who has a criminal record. You just don't know it. Currently here in the state of Maryland, we have a situation where women are an afterthought in the criminal justice system. Women are an afterthought in the criminal justice system. We have a situation where women can go to jail for years, go to prison for years, go to jail for years, and come home with no support structures. We have a situation in Maryland where men can go to jail for years, men can go to prison for years, and they have access to over 9 separate brick and mortar pre-release centers across the state. What is pre-release, Nicole? Pre-release is a status. That is when you are within 2 years of coming home from prison or jail, you get access to housing. You get an opportunity to figure out the transit system, what we call the link, but individuals with criminal records call it the missing link. You get access to re-engaging back with your family. You get to figure out if you want to go to college or you want to take a trade skill. You get to figure out how you're going to socially integrate back with community. You get to figure out what is your mental health treatment going to look like? What is your addiction treatment going to look like? But for women, that does not exist. For men, they get to come back here in Baltimore, live on St. Paul Street, see the birds twerk. Women that are on pre-release, if they get an opportunity to go out of a maximum security prison, they have to look at the neighborhoods of Jessup, Maryland. Women that have access to pre-release, when they go to work, they have to be transported on a corrections van, in handcuffs, shackled. When they get to work, the low-wage jobs, right, they don't get access to high-wage jobs. They have to work at Ruby Tuesdays or McDonald's. And when they pull up in front of their employment, a corrections officer has to open up the door of a prison van, unhandcuff these women in front of their employers to go to work. Boo! I don't hear you loud enough. Boo! Women, we carry this nation, this state, this city on our backs. We may have a male governor, but women are running this state. Look at all of those elected officials that just walked off the stage. We run this state. But yet we get the least support when we come home from prison or jail. Women are expected to snap back and be mothers again when they get out of prison or jail. They're expected to go back to work. They're expected to make sure that they're treating their addictions properly. They're expected to make sure that their mental health is sustainable. However, the state of Maryland is not making sure that adequate funds are allocated to support women coming home from prison or jail. That's a problem. Because we say we want to reduce recidivism, right? We want to stop individuals from going in and out of jail. But how are we actually reducing recidivism if we're not providing resources, those adequate needed resources to women that they need?
How we think we want to stop the school to prison pipeline when we're not supporting the women who are the mothers of those children that are in those schools. You wonder why the children are acting up? They don't have their mothers. We're not finding ways to support their mothers through their transition home from prison or jail. So what we typically do at Out for Justice before we leave any meeting or any event, we give an action. I'm calling you all to action. When you get home, I need you to start researching pre-release and what that means for women in Maryland. When you get home, I need you to research who your elected officials are, local and state elected officials. And I need you to call them twice a week. They're in Annapolis right now. Your state elected officials are at work right now. I need you to call them twice a week until April 15th, and you tell them, I want you to support the state of Maryland opening up a separate brick and mortar pre-release center for women. You tell them if they do not vote in favor, that you will remember. You tell them that you support the work of Out for Justice and those many organizations that do the hard work of getting back in community and rebuilding our lives. You tell them that you support those individuals who are giving back to communities that they took from. You all look so beautiful out here. I know it's cold, but I really appreciate you all listening to me today. Baltimore, where y'all at? Beautiful women. And women, support each other. Stick by each other. Even through the indifferences. Even through the indifferences, you stick by one another. Support one another. Thank you so much for having me.
When I say women, you say vote. Women. Vote. Women. Vote. When I say women, you say vote. Women. Vote. Women. Vote. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. 2018, we saw the real power that happens when women got together with the Me Too movement. Across this state and across this country, women's voices were finally heard. Let's do a test. How many of people out there have a Me Too story? Men, you could put your hands in the air too, because we know it happens to you as well. Look around. This is something that impacts most of us. And throughout our lifetimes, most women are going to face this. Nobody in Baltimore has been more vocal on this issue than our next speaker, Miss Brittany Oliver. Here, Brittany is the founder of Not Without Black Women. She's been front and center at this issue, and now she's gonna speak.
Hello, everyone. What's going on, Baltimore? My name is Brittany Oliver. I'm the founding director of Not Without Black Women based in Baltimore. Woo! The 2019 Women's March marks 2 years of resistance to the Trump presidency, 2 years of training new activists, 2 years of building power, right? And this time, we're coming back with an agenda. Today, national and local conversations about sexual violence and harassment towards women have infiltrated pop culture, the news, and beyond. The Me Too movement, one of the most powerful movements in the 21st century. For far too long, I've been arguing about the basic worth of Black women and girls.
Black women and girls are continually pressured to keep their mouths shut to protect men who commit violence, abuse, sexual or otherwise, against them because of some warped definition of racial solidarity. Enough with that, right? Black girls are perceived as less innocent and less in need of protection. Black women suffer from high rates of death and trauma from sexual and domestic violence. Black women have been calling out sexual violence for years and no one listened. Black women have been screaming about famous predators like R. Kelly, who preyed on black girls for well over a decade to no avail. Anita Hill thanklessly put herself and her career on the line for more than 25 years to publicly name Clarence Thomas for sexually harassing her at work. But now, the message is clear. Abusing black women and girls will not be tolerated in this city. Not on my watch and not on y'all watch, right? We need to have bigger conversations about how serious these issues are. There is inherent strength in agency. Me Too, in a lot of ways, is about agency. It's not about giving it up. It's about taking advantage of your power. 2020 and beyond is going to be some of the most historic, challenging moments of our lifetime. The time is now to do the work necessary if we want to win, right? Repeat after me. Support black women. Support black women. Love black women. Love black women. Protect black women. Protect black women. Support black women. Support black women. Love black women. Love black women. Protect black women. Protect black women. Thank y'all so much. Woo!
Okay, just a few more speakers. Literally, like 3. I do want to take a moment to say, after we step off, the march returns back to this square. Inside the War Memorial, there are tables from some of the speakers, the groups that you've heard today. There's voter registration inside. There's a music and entertainment inside, and also the winners of the Baltimore Women's March competition, the young women, high schoolers who competed, those winners are going to be performing inside. So please, after the march, go inside, warm up, learn more about how you can get active. Speaking of those remarkable young women, I want to introduce our next speaker, Miss Monet Wimbush. Monet is in the program called The Intersection that engages young people. How y'all doing today? Yeah. Okay.
I'm Monet Wimbish with the Baltimore Intersection. All right, let's practice. When I say age ain't, you say nothing but a number. Age ain't. Age ain't. Age ain't. Beautiful. Whew. So I started watching Surviving R. Kelly last week, and I thought, here we go again. If I had to survive another hour-long justification as to what childhood experiences led to an abuse to these black women lives, I'm gonna lose it. I'm compelled to remind you that according to R. Kelly himself, age ain't nothing but a number. Age ain't nothing to the number. To the man who threw unwanted Benjamins at my body like Benjamin threw Benjamins for slaves. Or to the men who cracked whips on the backs of men who now whip their Lambos and yell, "Hey, Ma, come here." Age ain't nothing but... Oh, we back, okay. All right, age ain't... And Ma ain't nothing but a cat call. When our four mothers dug tunnels, built bridges, stopped buses, and raised hell for you to take women for granted and flex the chains on your neck that our foremothers broke. The real leaders of our beautiful struggle, claiming that y'all stay woke. Age ain't, and my frustrations ain't nothing but a monthly menstruation. That's just how period talking. Beautiful, I know you hear me, stop walking. Calm down, you're only acting like that because your friends around. You sound hostile, baby, you too pretty not to smile. Age ain't, my smile ain't nothing but your trophy. Age ain't, and our clothing ain't nothing but an invitation for harassment. A sentence spoken in a language foreign to our bodies. Years of fighting to be heard, and you listen when we ain't even talking. Cause she wanted it, right? She was just all over you, right? And all of her stops and leave me alone meant continue, and I can't resist you, right? If my period could talk, it would say, dear men, remember these names. Aaliyah Houghton, age 14. Tiffany Hawkins, age 15. Jahonda Pace, age 16. Tracy Sampson, age 17. Andrea Kelly, age 19. If my period could talk, it would remind you, the blood from that butcher heart is now on your hands. No, we will not believe in you. You have clipped far too many wings. So hear me spit back the words you put in my mouth so my ladies can sing. Here's my remix to Ignition. Ladies, listen when I sing. You don't owe a smile to a man who will take it for granted. Save your energy for your magic, borderline enchanted. Your frustrations are more than valid. Voice them until the mountains begin to shake. And some more when the patriarchy begins to break. No, your clothing does not speak for you. That should look like a snack. Oh, you good? Okay, thank you. Yes, you look like a snack, but you're not his for him to dig into. So dare I say, again, age ain't nothing but a number. So start today, right now, at 5 years old, 10, 15, and 50, and to your grave. Keep your heads high and hearts tranquil. When whomever tells you that you can't, look them dead in their eyes and say, but we will.
I don't know about you, but we are in good hands. Am I wrong? Thank you, Monet. That was powerful. Next, I want to introduce Sana Siddiqui.
Hey, assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor. As we enter this third year of Trump's presidency, I want us to think together about ways to make our resistance more powerful and more coordinated. And for me, an important part of that is thinking about collective liberation. The idea that none of us are free until all of us are. And a lot of our speakers have been talking about that. It's really great. A lot happened last year. In 2018, the Supreme Court upheld the right of our president to be racist by allowing the third version of this Muslim ban. We rallied here in Baltimore the day after the decision came out. But on that same day, another decision also came out on the Janus case, which weakened the ability of our teachers and government employees to fight for better working conditions and better schools. And you might not think that both of those are important for Muslims, but they are, because having fighting unions is crucial. This past year, I was part of a historic hotel worker strike, and I was out there on the picket lines with all of these badass Muslim women. Yeah. Muslim women hotel workers, older aunties, people my age, people bringing their kids to the line, and we fought for protections, better protections against sexual harassment on the job, and having wages so that one job could be enough to live on. so we're not working 2 or 3 jobs at once. So, as Muslim women, as workers, when our struggles are inevitably linked. Then on Easter Sunday of this past year, a lot of us rallied in Baltimore because of the unjust murder of Stephon Clark, an unarmed African-American man, a young man who was killed by police in Sacramento. We were joined locally by also hundreds of Muslims from around the country who were here for a national convention. As Muslim and as people, Black Lives Matter. And then in November, we elected the first Muslim woman to Congress. Yeah. Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, a Somali refugee, and Rashida Tlaib from Michigan, a Palestinian American. This is such a historic moment and gives us hope for a more representative and diverse Congress, but as always, there's still work to be done. Somalia is one of the countries affected by the Muslim ban. And in 2018, Trump lowered the number of refugees the U.S. would accept to a historic low. He's planning to cut that further, folks, and we need to do something about it. As for Palestine, during this government shutdown, Senator Ben Cardin tried to pass the Israel Anti-Boycott Act to prevent citizens from being able to exercise their First Amendment rights to support Palestinian liberation. As you may know, our Governor Larry Hogan has already passed a similar act in Maryland by executive order. So then, as Muslims, as refugees, as Palestinians, and as immigrants, our struggles are linked. So today I call on all of us to organize. In unions and in all of these other organizations that we've heard from who are fighting against racism, anti-LGBTQ policies, against ableism and against ICE, against sexual harassment and the erasure of indigenous people. Fighting together for a better world. By fighting for all of this, you will be fighting for Muslims also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sana Siddiqui. Next up, I want to welcome Guadalupe Franco Sanabria, a member of Casa de Maryland, a dreamer, and an activist.
¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Bien se puede! ¡Sí se puede! Buenas tardes. My name is Guadalupe Franco, and I am a proud immigrant mother of 2 beautiful children. A proud member of Casa and undocumented and unafraid. That's right! I immigrated to the United States from Mexico 17 years ago, when I was just 15 years young. You see, my mother died after giving birth to me, and I was raised by my older brother and sisters. My brother worked to support us all, and after his sudden death, I came to reunite with my older sister in North Carolina. Yet after suffering so much fear and uncertainty in the state, I moved to Baltimore 11 years ago. This city welcomed me with open arms, and I found social justice organizations like Casa and began fighting for my rights as an immigrant. In 2012, I heard the news of DACA and filled out and received my work permit. I couldn't finally breathe and felt safe enough to living my life its full potential. That's right. I felt so safe, and I even came close owning the home where my children would share all their childhood memories. But 15 days before closing the house, the Trump administration announced their push to cancel DACA and the bank called to terminate my loan because the DACA program had uncertain future. At the moment, I realized that my children's memories will no longer to be filled with the dream home we have worked so hard to buy, but instead with the fear of me not coming home one day. This is the reality of many immigrant women here in Baltimore and all around the country. I have seen how some of our women's warriors have been swept up unjustly by ICE and their families have been torn apart. But I am here today because we must all unite and fight back. Yeah. Here in this country is where I gave birth to 2 children. Here in this country is where I start my career and I will finish my education. Here is where I start my family and I am here to stay. I made a promise to my brother before he died that I was not giving up. And I plan to keep that promise to my children. I ask you to join our movement and make sure this country does not give up in our immigrant women, because we will continue to rise and fight back for our families. Together we must also fight to bring back the woman and social justice warrior we have lost, like Roxana, a mother of 4 children who was denied by ICE here in Baltimore 2 weeks ago. Join me in the fight by signing the petition for ICE for free Roxana and women like her and who are here to fight for our families. And join me in hundreds of CASA members in Annapolis in January the 28th as we fight to make our state of Maryland a sanctuary state. Protect our immigrant women. Thank you so much. ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede!
Awesome, thank you. Guadalupe Sanabria. Can I ask now that the young people from the intersection and the cheerleaders from Mary E. Rodman come up to the flagpole to my left. And our next speaker, and there's only 2 more, 3 more. Okay, is one thing we know is that trans rights are women's rights. Let's say that again. Trans rights are women's rights. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Ava Pipitone, founder of Host Home and lead gardener at Baltimore Transgender Alliance.
Thank you very much for that introduction. It is a little chilly out here. I think you all know that. But what does that mean for you? You showed up in this temperature? That means you're in it. That means everyone here is in it. Know that. Breathe that in a little bit. We're here. Women, friends, family. It's always time to act. But today, it's time to be seen, and it's time to build. Women, we show up with our squad, right? Our queers, our outcasts, our survivors, our chosen family. Remember, we roll deep. So right now, I want you to reach out. Reach out to your right, I guess you're right, and your left. In this space right now, Know you're not alone. Reach. These are the people that are in this with you. Pull the people together. We are here. Weave the threads of community. Women, we are generators. We are creators. We create newness. We can weave a future fabric of womanhood in Baltimore City together. It starts with trust. It starts with trust. And those among us with privilege, right? Access. Privilege can be said as access. Access to housing, access to employment, access to being seen as safe, access to being heard. Use your privilege. Understand it. Do not stagnate in your privilege and let it compound. Act together in community. That begins with trust. Women of Baltimore, do not be distracted. Put down your cell phone. Don't be numb. Because together we can weave together abilities, privilege, skills, intergenerational wealth. We can make a future. And right now, I need to talk about my family, about the trans family, because here's a fact. Here's a fact. There's a difference between sex work and human trafficking. Let me say that one more time. There is a difference between sex work and human trafficking. And never in the species of humans have we had any successful reduction in human trafficking that did not involve collaboration between consenting adult sex workers and law enforcement working together. If you are passing legislation that there are no sex workers involved in the design process of, you must stop. Because I will not bury another daughter. This is not for you to do. Together, we can check our biases. Now, as the patriarchs stagnate our government and their whatever, remember that we can act together. Remember that we can push back together. So as we weave these bonds of new community, act together and push back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ava. We could not make this march happen without the generous support from our sponsors and donors. If you want to support the Baltimore Women's March, please go to the website, baltimorewomensmarch.org, and make a donation, or you can purchase an awesome t-shirt or sweatshirt from the shop. Your generosity helps us organize this march and activities throughout the year. Also, I want to make the announcement now that if you're interested in helping to plan Women's March 2020, we'll start planning in March of this year. March, get that? And it is welcome. Just, again, go to the Baltimore Women's United page and sign up and tell us that you're interested in helping to plan. Now, we are going to I'd like to introduce some of our Supreme Court sponsors of this march. This year is Planned Parenthood and the AFL-CIO. I'd like to introduce Mira Ippolito from the Planned Parenthood Maryland. She's a volunteer and advocate for the organization, and Donna Edwards, the president of the Maryland, D.C. State Federation of the AFL-CIO.
Good afternoon. I'm Donna Edwards. I'm president of the Maryland State and D.C. AFL-CIO, 350,000 workers strong. Thank you for being here. A lot's been said this morning about women and leadership and where we are in this world and in this country and in this state. I want to speak about workers. Right now, we have tens of thousands of workers that are protecting us, keeping us safe, keeping planes from falling out of the air, and they're not being paid. We need to give them that support. It affects every single one of us. We are all workers. People in this audience right now, how many of you make money from money? Or do you get up and go to work every day, and on your blood, your sweat, your tears, and your brains, you make a living? And you make that living for someone else to profit. And when they shut their eyes to wanting to give a decent living, $15 an hour and above, or they don't provide health care or benefits, or they don't want you to take time to take your child to an appointment or go to a teacher's conference, that's hurting all of us. So the AFL-CIO is the voice for all workers. We want to lift up everyone who works for a living. And we know that women belong in the White House, and women belong in the state houses, and women belong in the city halls. But women belong organizing your workplaces and becoming big labor. This is what it looks like. Make it stronger. Go out and organize. Fight back. Women, men, together. We will take our country back and put it in the right direction and not have tens of thousands of people working for free. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a woman. I'm a little short. Hello, Baltimore. My name is Mira Ippolito, and I'm a member of the Planned Parenthood National Speakers Bureau. I'm also a longtime volunteer with Planned Parenthood of Maryland, and I'm a patient. And it is an honor to stand before you and represent the 1 in 5 women in America who have visited Planned Parenthood for their health care. So I'm going to tell you a little story about myself. In 2016, I decided on a birth control method that worked best for me and my partner. And when I went to Planned Parenthood to get an IUD, I was treated with compassion, professionalism, and most importantly, I was treated with respect. Wait, it gets better. 2 months later, I saw a primary care physician for a routine checkup, and I asked her if my IUD would affect getting a pap smear. My doctor heard the word IUD, and she said, I don't know much about those. Do you know how they function? They cause an abortion to take place, and that goes against my religious beliefs. This outrageous, false statement, it is not true, made me feel ashamed for my healthcare choice. My request for education was met with hostility and ignorance. Yeah, that doesn't happen at Planned Parenthood. I stand at Planned Parenthood because no one should ever feel embarrassed or humiliated for asking their healthcare provider questions about their health. That's why we go to them. It's also the reason why I march for women and their right to reproductive freedom. 2 years ago, the Women's March in DC was one of the largest mobilizations in United States history. We knew then what remains true today. We all have a stake in protecting and expanding sexual and reproductive rights, LGBTQIA rights, racial equity, immigrant rights, disability rights, and beyond. We are here for marginalized people at Planned Parenthood. 2 years have passed, and despite the unprecedented, non-stop attacks on our health and our rights from the Trump-Pence administration, we've actually gained some ground for reproductive equity. The Affordable Care Act was saved, and so is the right for patients like me to continue receiving quality health care at Planned Parenthood. What happened 2 years ago? It was more than a march. It was a symbol of our collective resistance. However, our challenges are far from over. We all know that. Bigotry is not just a word. It is hateful rhetoric that creates deep emotional wounds. Bigotry reflects and bolsters oppression that impedes our ability to thrive. Bigotry sparks violent actions that endanger and claim lives. Planned Parenthood doesn't compromise on anything that hurts its patients, its staff, its supporters, and its communities. We're over on Howard Street if you haven't seen us yet. For over 90 years, Planned Parenthood of Maryland has been fighting so that people like you and me can follow our own paths. It has been my pleasure to join Planned Parenthood in this fight, and honestly, my responsibility as a woman. Together, we hold the same fundamental belief that freedom and full equality cannot be achieved until everyone has control over their lives at the most basic level. These are our bodies, these are our families, and these are our futures. As a healthcare provider committed to giving all people access to quality, affordable healthcare, Planned Parenthood has a responsibility to advocate for patients like me. That's why I will never back down. Women are leading the way. We are courageous. We are resilient. When women from all walks of life come together, we are unstoppable. We saw the proof this past November when women, especially women of color, voted for candidates that promised to advocate boldly for our rights. Today we are standing shoulder to shoulder with people across the country to create an inclusive movement that advocates for all of our communities. Baltimore, there is power in our unity. Together we are strong. So watch out, Donald. The women's wave is coming.
Thank you, Donna and Mira. Okay, couple of housekeeping things, and then our last speaker is going to send us on our way. Okay, first thing is, March is going to begin over here in the corner. It's going to go down. It's going to go down Holliday Street to Pratt Street. It's going to go east on Pratt Street to Gay Street. It's going to come back up Gay Street and end right in front of the War Memorial Building. You'll be able to go inside and warm up, and also come and listen to some of the winners of our Baltimore Women's March contest. Yay! Okay, and now, I'm sorry. The buses, if any of you took buses here, the buses will take people back to the park and ride at 2 o'clock. And you'll meet them where they dropped you off. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you our last speaker, the very powerful Marilyn Mosby, our state's attorney.
Good afternoon. All right, ladies, we can do better than that. I said good afternoon. Baltimore Women United, Warrior Women, we are here. I am so incredibly honored to stand with you bold, you brilliant, you beautiful women yet again. I need you all to look around. As mothers and as grandmothers, as sisters, as aunts, and as friends, we stand yet again as the bedrock of our communities, representing every neighborhood, every race, every religion, in unity with women all across the country, to once again and stand against bigotry and hate. We're here for the third year in a row to stand today against misogyny that seeks to limit our potential and define us as women. We stand today representing the ideals of an America where love, justice, equality, freedom, compassion, and humanity define us as a country. Ladies, we stand today because this is our moment. This is our moment to speak out. This is our moment to fight. This is our moment to grow. This is our moment to lead. You see, Baltimore, as we join with sisters in every corner of this country today, I can't help but be inspired during Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday weekend to reflect on his call to action when he said, "He or she who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he or she who helps to perpetuate it. He or she who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it. We stand today with one singular voice in protest to evil. We stand today because as women of this community, we intend to fight. We intend to lead. We stand today exemplifying to the world a royal sisterhood where we understand, especially after 2018, that there is more that unites us as women than there is that divides us. You see, I am my sister's keeper, and your fight is my fight, and my fight is your fight. Last year, I stood before you and declared in 2018 that the stakes have never been higher for women in this country. A year later, I'm once again telling you, unfortunately, that in the year of 2019, the stakes have never been higher for women in this country. We fought, we led, we did what we needed to do and sent more than 100 diverse women to Congress. We elected women to office in record numbers to lead all across this country, from Annapolis to Capitol Hill. I can confidently say that we women are making a difference. We're taking up our power and we're challenging the status quo in the pursuit of justice. But just as good as 2018 was, ladies, we have to take it to the next level. It's time to take it to the next level in 2020. We have to organize, we have to donate, we have to knock on doors, and most of all, we have to make sure that every woman that we know votes. And just like Black lives, our lives matter, our votes matter. This is our time. This is our moment, and we must support, encourage, and lift one another. Just look at what we're facing. Just look at what we're facing. From a president who is leading the most dangerous and most regressive administration this country has ever seen. It is unacceptable that we have families being ripped apart and young children being detained in cages like animals, all because their families dare to seek a better life in this land of the free. It is unacceptable that our government is shut down and federal employees are being forced into economic ruin because the president is incapable and unwilling to lead. It is unacceptable that this president has touted regression as making America great again on the backs of Black and brown people, on women and Muslims, the LGBTQ community, and has single-handedly caused the deterioration of race relations, immigration reform, abortion rights, birth control, health care, voting rights, police accountability, and criminal justice reform in this country. Ladies, we're here today not just in protest to evil, we're here today to say what we said last year. Time's up. Time's up on the bigotry and hatred that is being reflected 40 miles over there in the White House. We've already proven that we're not gonna just march. We've already proven that we will organize, we will strategize, and we will implement. So today we will march for every child that needs health care. We will march for every dreamer who is afraid their family will be separated. We will march for every family living paycheck to paycheck. We will march to ensure safer streets and communities for our children. So yes, today we will march, but tomorrow we will utilize our momentum to fight, to lead, to run for office, and to vote. 2020 is an incredibly important year, and we must continue to have the seat at the table, and if we don't, we build our own table. Ladies, what we need to understand, what we need to recognize is that as mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunts, we women know what it's like to sacrifice, to prioritize others over ourselves. We women are the foundation of every community throughout this world. So, as I stated last year, as some powerful, disillusioned, misogynistic men illustrate to us time and time again, that women should know their place. As we talked about last year, we know our place. Our place is in city council. Our place is in city hall. Our place is in the state attorney's office. Our place is in the state house. And soon enough, our place will be in the White House. So warrior women, we're here today to state emphatically and with a unified voice and spirits that we reject the politics of fear and division. We reject hatred masked as warped nationalism. We reject racism and sexism and misogyny and all of the efforts that diminish a woman's ability to make a choice for her body. Our little girls deserve to have more rights, more freedom, and more opportunity. We cannot allow Trump to drag us, our families, or this country backwards. We will march forward today, but what I need each of you to understand is that we must do it together. Supporting one another against the power structures that seek to divide us and to keep us quiet. Ladies, I know it's cold, but I need you to do me a favor. Look at the sister standing next to you. Make sure her crown is situated. And say, Queen, I got your back. Look at the sister on the other side of you and say, we're in this together. Say it, together. Say it again, together. So we will fight for our families. We will fight for our schools together. We will fight for safer streets together. We will fight for our dignity against sexual predators together. We will fight for equal pay for equal work together. And if we're going to make Baltimore the best city it can be and ensure that America lives up to its promise of liberty and justice for all, we must do it together. My fight is your fight. Your fight is my fight. Why? Because time's up. And ladies, our time is now. Sister Kimberly Williams Crenshaw said it best. It's about power. It's not about asking. It's not about it's about demanding. It's not about convincing those who are currently in power. It's about changing the very face of power itself. We are here today because we believe we have the power to make the real promises of this nation. And we will not retreat. We will not relent. And we will not rest until victory is won. We will do it, my sisters, and we will do it together. God bless you all.